Hello, my name is Kaya Martin, and I will be reading off the answers and the questions from my interviewee. I was able to interview Michael Martin, who is actually a colleague of my dad's. My dad and him are both former military law enforcement, and he is now in the FBI, and my dad's a military contractor. So they've worked together before. They bonded over their shared past and all that stuff, so I was lucky enough to interview him. He is unfortunately not comfortable to be on camera, so I will be reading off his responses that he sent me via email. I asked him a mix of the questions that we got from the questionnaire and a mix of my own, just to give it some diversity. So, the first question I asked him was, what initially drew you to the study of criminology and what keeps you passionate about it? And he said, growing up in an environment where domestic violence was a normal occurrence, what keeps me passionate about it is the ability to study other departments and the way they use their current practices to bring a positive outcome to their case and research. And then the second question that I asked him was, why do you study this issue or topic? And he said that his field is specifically domestic assault. I study this topic because it is more in line with my values that brought me into law enforcement and criminology. To expand on that, I observed numerous experiences where domestic violence caused devastation within families, and in most cases, the justice wasn't adequate. My goal in this field is to ensure I provide 100% of my time and resources to provide justice to victims. He also explained how his military background made him passionate for domestic assault and domestic violence because a lot of people that he knew got arrested for domestic assault and all that stuff because of the military. I also asked him how has technology and data analytics changed research to practice in criminology. He said it has changed dramatically because without all the advancements of technology, we would still be relying on tangible data, which inherently creates human error. Today's technology allows us to develop trends and produce analytical reports to narrow our scope and provide pinpoint prevention methods for crime. I thought that was very interesting because I know we talked about prevention methods for crime in class, so when I saw that response, that was pretty cool. I also asked him, what ethical challenges do criminologists face when conducting research or working with criminal justice agencies? He touched on a little bit of his law enforcement background in this one, as well as mixed it with his criminology background. He said, the biggest ethical challenges I've dealt with in my career stem from chain of custody issues. When getting evidence back from police departments, there has been mishaps from chain of custody. Within chain of custody, evidence goes through at least 10 to 12 people before it gets to me. And if the chain of custody doesn't stay intact, then it screws up cases. Another issue I've faced is not infringing on someone's rights, meaning not being educated enough in your field to know if what you're doing is unethical. Often when working with other criminal justice agencies, I've been in situations where other departments try to influence investigations and ultimately impede on the investigation. And for the fifth one, I asked him, how do you balance the study of individual behavior versus social influences in crime research? And he said that the individual data comprises the research for society as a whole. However, in my mind, everything starts out individually, and then over time you're going to have to take that data and see what kind of impacts it has had on the general society and what impacts the general society has had on the individual. It may be hard to understand and to balance at times because they go hand in hand with one another. For number 6, I asked him, what trends in crime or criminal behavior do you find the most concerning at the current moment? He said, at the current moment, the ones I find most concerning are drug crimes. There is not enough enforcement or means of rehabilitation to counter the growing problem we have with drugs coming into our communities. For the 7th question, I asked him, how do criminologists influence policymaking and law enforcement practices? He said, we influence policymaking and law enforcement by providing research-based insights into crime methods or crime trends, causes, and effective interventions. Our work helps policymakers develop laws and programs that address the root causes of criminal behavior rather than relying solely on punishment. And then for, I think the last question I asked him is, what advice would you give someone considering a career in criminology? And he said, study your case law. He said, we have federal, state, and jurisdictional laws, but what people have a hard time deciphering is when you should use which ones at what time. Also dig into any criminology theory that you can find. These theories really helped me in my research for domestic violence. And that is all the questions that I asked him. This was a very insightful interview. I didn't get to speak to him in person, but getting answers from a criminologist through email was very, very informative, and it was really cool connecting what he replied back to my questions to what we learned in class. So that is it. Thank you again to Michael Martin. That was great.